I would say don't give up, because the only time that you lose is when you give up.
Mhm.
So you just keep, going forward, and know that there's going to be like there's valleys and hills. We're definitely in a valley right now. So you just got to persevere until you're in that hill. And a lot of people do give up while they're in the valley, but the successful people, persevere until you reach that hill. So my eyes is just keep your eyes on the hill. The best one to just start out with would just be Python, because you can do whatever you want in
Yeah,
Python. Like if you only learn Python, you'll be set for
that's
life.
true.
And for other stuff, might need, like if you want to do more graphical stuff, or you want to do, more website design, you might need to know like R or HTML. But starting out, just learn Python.
Hi, Miles. Welcome and thank you so much for being here. Today, we are going to talk about AI, ChatGPT, Google Bard, but I'm advising everyone watching this video to watch until the end so you can learn about those tools and see what Miles have to offer on those tools. He's one of the leading experts in AI and data analysis. But before we get to that, please tell everybody about you.
So, hello everyone. My name is Myles Ingram. I did an undergrad at Harvard in physics, and coming out of undergrad, I didn't know how to code at all. So, it was a very long journey going from where I was from undergrad till now. So, after going out in undergrad, I worked in like a research lab that was focused on machine learning, cost effectiveness for Markov models, stuff like that. And then while I was in there, uh, the lab was at Columbia. So I was at that lab at Columbia, and they had a program where you could actually get a master's while you were in the lab. So I decided, hey, why not get a free master's, learn how to code, and get better and use these skills for more fun projects. So I decided to commit to getting the master's while I was at Columbia, and I learned pretty much the whole gambit of coding, from how to do stuff in R, Python, JavaScript, SQL. And then coming out of that, I decided to start my own data science sort of freelancing company. So now I work on Upwork, and I get clients from Upwork and do various types of machine learning coding projects for people. And it's been really fun, and I've been really enjoying working on a bunch of diverse sets of projects.
Yeah, you are one of the top rated freelancer in the world today on Upwork. Congratulations. And you have 100% job success. That's impressive. It's very, very hard to do. And you are a Harvard and Columbia grads. And you also have your website, MylesAI.com, right?
Yes. So this is my website. You can scroll down. You have some of my portfolio projects. The first one on the left was a study that I did with Ralph Lauren. It was the final project of my master's, and we had to use SageMaker in order to look through a bunch of customer data in order to see if like tests that the Ralph Lauren stores were doing were successful. So there was 4 different types of tests. The one that I worked on was the shoe test, where they looked at stores that had shoes in them and stores that they didn't have shoes in them, and see people's purchasing behavior based off of the shoes that were in the store. So that one was very interesting. To the right of that is a company that I started called Daldot. It was a company I started while I was at Columbia. I was interested in looking into like how to track what you're eating. Me and my co-founder were, and we came across this fluid called interstitial fluid, which is just like, if you ever had a blister before, it's the fluid in that blister. So we essentially extracted fluid from that blister and looked at a bunch of different things in there. Sadly, we weren't able to find anything too conclusive from that, but we were able to sell the company just off of the power of the interstitial fluid, which is very interesting. And then to the right of that is a water bottle that I created. It's called the Hydro Homie, and it guides you to the nearest like cleanest water source, and it also tells you if you're dehydrated based off of your breath. And then further down this page, I have more sort of portfolio projects. So Dingus Domingus, Among Us was really big back in the pandemic. I'm not sure if people played Among Us here, but it was a very big game back in the pandemic, and it was for another class in my master's that we made sort of a tie-in platform for Among Us where you could upload your stats and you could see what type of player you were and like what types of things that you did while you were playing Among Us. And then to the right is that is another smartwatch that I created, which is for another class in Columbia. And then further down are some other projects I also did in data analysis at Columbia.
This is great portfolio, very interesting.
Yeah, I've been hopping between IoT real hardware stuff and also data analysis like software stuff, and it's been very interesting just exploring the whole gambit of what technology can do for us.
It's great that you have all of these on your portfolio. You have it on your website, and I'm a certified data analyst myself. I took the Google and Coursera one. I did it for 6 months, and so data analysis. Obviously, you are a data scientist because you have the master degree, so you are above a data. You have data analytics and data analysis, which is as they're slightly a little bit different. But someone who's looking to get into the data analysis field, what would you advise them?
I would first advise them to learn what you actually want to do in data analysis. It's much easier if you know exactly what field you want to go into when you're studying to be a data analyst, because there's a bunch of different skill sets that you need depending on the field that you're going into. So like, for example, if you're going into finance, you're going to need to do a lot of like predictive analytics and fraud detection. And if you're going into something like medicine, where I was, you're going to need to learn a lot about, how to clean very complicated electronic health data and sort of look at sort of predicting stuff based off of like early signs of disease. And it's also going to guide what kind of projects you go to. So knowing that is like the first thing I would do, like hammer down what exactly you want to do in data.
Yeah, that's very important. And you talked data cleaning, because that's really hard. A lot of people just look at data analytics like just the visualization, which is just the last step in the whole process, right? You have the data collection part, which is trying to look at some credible sources where you can get the data from. Then the cleaning data, formatting, changing these date formats. Sometimes you have extra spaces. Sometimes you have misspelling of someone's names. Sometimes you have missing values. You're like, what's here? So it's a lot of right. So you gotta put a lot of work into cleaning those data.
Yeah, real world data is very, very dirty.
Yeah.
And if you want to be good at data science, data analysis, you have to deal with real messy data.
Yeah.
You have to just dive into the mess.
And then as the data, the tools, you have obviously Excel. That's a lot of companies use basic Excel, right, to do their analysis. And then you have R programming language, Python, Tableau. Can you talk about some of these tools that people can need to learn?
Yeah, of course. So I think Excel is probably the most accessible thing for like starting your data journey, just because everyone has used Excel pretty frequently. And then moving on from there is like Tableau is very useful, just because it's like one step above Excel, where you can create very cool dashboards very quickly without having to know how to code. But once you start getting into like Python, SQL, and R, you're going to need to learn more about how to code, which seems very daunting. But once you start like going through projects, learning like the basic syntax of how to code, it gets very easier. And I would recommend starting with one coding language, because once you know one coding language, it's much easier to learn, subsequent languages. It's like learning an actual language. Like once you know one language, it's easier to learn subsequent languages.
Right. So how important is SQL?
SQL is, it depends on where you are, honestly. Like I very infrequently use SQL. I sometimes just use it for side projects just to keep like skills up. But if you're going into like a corporate position where they have like SQL databases, you're going to need to know how to use SQL.
Yeah.
And I also use SQL a lot in my job at the Columbia University Medical Center, just because a lot of their databases were written in SQL. So it depends on where you are.
Yeah, I remember one of the case study I did after taking the Google program. They give you a case study, and we had 18 CSV files, and one of the files I tried to load it, it was not able to get to load on Excel because they have millions of rows. I had to use SQL, I use like, Google have their Google Cloud. Went to the Google Cloud, uploaded the Excel there, try to get a small sample of the data, maybe the first 20 rows or the first 50, and then try to work with those. And that's one of the reason why I was like, this is why SQL is important. When you start working with these multinational companies, it's a lot of data.
Yeah, yeah. Once you start working with like mountains and mountains of data, you need to be able to like talk to the data using SQL.
Right. So Python or R? What is because in the Google program, they did R programming language. And between data analysts, the Python is huge, is very popular. So what's your thought on those two, the Python and R debate?
Like which one's better? Like straight
Yes.
up.
So when to use which one, and which one do you think is more useful?
Okay. I straight up think Python is way more useful.
Yeah.
And you can just do so much more in Python. Like you can do like pretty much whatever you want. Like machine learning, you can create websites, you can like do API integration, you can talk to like OpenAI, stuff like that. And the only thing that Python is lacking, I would say, is in like the graphing department. For any graphs I do, I usually go to R just because I have so much more control over how the graph looks.
Okay.
The colors and the schemes. R is like more of like a graphic design sort of thing once it comes to like designing, graphs and figures and stuff like that. And I used mostly R when I was creating figures for my job at Columbia University.
Wow. Actually, that's really good because you're right. If you try to do visual with Python, it's not that straightforward. In R, you have the ggplot, right? ggplot2 library that you can call in, and that's very easy to use. You're right. That's good to know. And also, a lot of academics use they use R a lot. Research papers, right?
Yeah. A lot of academics use R for like statistical analyses. R, SPSS, and SAS are the big stuff in academia.
So obviously you have a lot of a lot of programming languages, like you talked about Python, R, SQL, JavaScript, HTML, CSS. So for someone who want to get into coding, what are the best programming languages to learn today?
I would say the best one to just start out with would just be Python, because you can do whatever you want in Python. Like if you only learn Python, you'll be set for life. And for other stuff, you might need, like if you want to do more graphical stuff or you want to do, more website design, you might need to know like R or HTML. But starting out, just learn Python.
Yeah, Python is so powerful. Yeah, it's a great language, and also with automation, it's very good to write a Python script to automate a lot of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're also a specialist in the writing grant. I saw you help people write grant for NIH, right? NIH, and then other organisms. Can you talk a little bit about that and about writing grant and how can you help people on that field?
So writing a grant is a lot different than coding, first of all. So usually when people come to me with like an idea, they like have a sort of rough sketch of what the study they want to do. And then I go in and like fill in the background and then sort of write out their like sketch and do sort of a procedure in order to run the study. And then I look into like the significance of the study, why it's important, what gaps in the literature it is filling. And then I look at like the timeline it will take to complete the study. And then if it's like a study that needs people, I also write like the consent form and then the procedure and then like how people are going to be recruited. And it's very good to write grants because that's how you like, at the end of the day, that's how you get money. But it's also good to like write out like strategically what you're thinking about and like have everything planned out in one space.
So for a small business owner out there, someone who has a small business looking to get some funding, looking to get some grants, what advice can you give them?
I would say start writing grants as soon as possible because you want to have sort of your idea of the business written down somewhere, like as quickly as possible. So you have something to look back to when you're like doing the business, especially like small business startups, like things change just so fast. It's good to have something like written down that you can refer back to. And it's like, oh, I said this. Oh, I wanted this to be like my market. Oh, I had this idea in order to complete this study. And then if that changes, you can always go back to that document and work around it. So start writing grants early. And if you get a successful grant, you get money, then you can do more stuff and it grows your business. So it's never too early to write grants.
And what are some of the business, the organizations that can offer that are offering grants for small businesses?
So there's two big ones, basically in the academic, like scientific field. There's two big ones, which are the NIH and the NSF. And they have an SBIR, which is a small business, I think, innovative research grant. And you can basically apply to any idea that you have. It's like an open grant, and they give, I think, like a $250,000 if you win the grant. And they do it pretty much year round. You can apply whenever you want. And it's a good place to like write down your entire like grant scheme, like how you're going to, structure your business. Why is your business different? And have all that stuff written down in one space. And they also award a lot, and there's a lot of people that have gone through it, and they're very willing to like help you write those grants if you reach out to them. So I would recommend going to those. There's also grants.gov, which has a lot of grants just available, like government grants that are just available that you can apply to, which I would also look into. Yeah, those are the things that I would look into if you're looking for grants.
That's good. It's very good to help small businesses get started with some kind of funding and go from there. So let's switch to technology and cloud computing. Obviously, I saw on your website everything you have expertise in AWS, Amazon Web Services.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk a little bit about that with AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, and what future you see for the cloud business?
I have most of my experience in AWS. I've only used like Azure like a little bit.
Okay.
And for Google Cloud, I haven't used it that much, but it is very useful in getting something built very quickly and building that to scale. So there's a lot of tools in there that you can build something that's like a rough prototype, and it's very straightforward to build that into like an actual product that people can use very quickly. They also have a lot of tutorials. Like everything is very well documented. So if you ever have any questions, you can just go into those tutorials or look online and you'll be able to figure out something very quickly, or someone can help you figure out something very quickly. And I don't see cloud computing going anywhere. It's like too big to fail at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's here to stay.
It is here to stay, and I'm happy for it.
Yeah, it's that's a good point. It's very good for scaling, like say building your technology very quickly. You can scale in, or you can expand or scale it back, right? Depending on what you need. And they have a good, if like say you can call them, they can support you when you're building your apps, right?
Yes, exactly. So one of the first apps that I built in there was a like restaurant chatbot, and I called AWS to help us like figure out. It was like the first experience with AWS, and I called AWS to like figure out how to hook up like Lex is like the thing that does like the chatbot stuff for AWS, like how to hook up Lex to like a DynamoDB and how to hook it up to like a front end, and they're very helpful in figuring that out.
And let's talk about some of the technologies like GitHub, Git and GitHub. How important is GitHub?
GitHub is immensely important. It is one of the most important things, I would say. Yeah, that's like what you're going to be judged at if you're like applying to jobs. One of the main things you're going to be judged on is like the quality of your GitHub, because it tells you what projects you've worked on and also how well you write code and also how well you document your code and how well you explain your code to other people. So it's very good litmus test of like how, put together your code is.
So people who hire, the hiring managers, they usually go check your GitHub and see, what are some of the projects you already done there. And also Git is very for working as a team, right? Let's say you, for sharing most of so the software developer, most of the developers, you work as a team. You only have one portion, right, of the code, and Git help you to do those Git push, Git pull command, right, to work as a team, right?
Yes, it makes it very seamless,
Yeah.
like doing Git pull and commit and pulls and commits and stuff like that.
Hi guys, please don't forget to subscribe. If you didn't do it so far, you can check my YouTube channel, my Udemy courses, my Amazon store. Let's take a look. So this is my YouTube. If you're not subscribed so far, go ahead, hit the subscribe button. You can like, comment, and share. And you can see here my courses on Udemy, my Amazon store, and you can watch all the other videos you like. And here, if you go on Udemy, you can see some of the courses I have here. The complete course on top 41 legit ideas to make money today, ultimate Amazon leadership principle masterclass, a brief beginner's guide to gaming, a brief introduction about America, a great course, starting a business in America as a foreigner. That's a great course with a partnership with Augusta Massey, and Solar System 101 course for all level. This is one of the latest course I have, one of the highest rated course on Udemy. Don't forget to check it out. So this is a snapshot of the solar system course, just the introduction. You can take a look here. And I started with a code from Neil deGrasse Tyson, also ended this introduction with that code. You can also check my Amazon store at amazon.com/shop/online-school. These are some of the Amazon product I use and or I can recommend some top big products. For example, you can see here, this is a list of products I use in producing online campus school videos. Some headphones, microphone, USB, lightning, green screen, laptops, a lot of small equipment that I use. Laptop stand, that's very good for the cooling of your laptop. Anyway, just link in the description. Don't forget to check it out. All right, back to the video. And then Wix, you also do web design. I saw you have Wix, and Wix is what do you think about it? Is it sometimes it can be expensive, right? Because they have these templates that you can get and then modify. Is it better to go with Wix, WordPress, or just start from scratch, do HTML5, CSS, and create your web design?
That's a great question because it all depends on what you want to do at the end of the day.
Right.
Like if you want to be a web designer, then I think it's worth just trying to build the website from scratch, just to have that experience. But if you're like, me, I don't really want to be a web designer. I just need like a website to show off my portfolio and, like get clients for freelancing. So Wix was like the easiest option in creating something simple like that. And I've also heard WordPress is like not as good because it's not as user friendly and there's like a larger learning curve. But if you like WordPress, go for it. But if you're starting out and doing websites and you just need a website to do something, I highly recommend Wix.
So how easy is it to set up a website with Wix? Let's say you want a very simple website, something that show off your skills, like you said, your portfolio. Is that gonna take you 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month? How easy is it?
It should take you like a weekend to like set up a nice looking portfolio in Wix. Yeah, my website took me like roughly a weekend to put together.
And how about the domain name, the host, where you can host the website? Do they offer all that as a package, or you got to get it somewhere else?
I forget if they offer it as a package. I got mine from GoDaddy,
Right.
And they have a GoDaddy tie-in that you can just use that for the domain name in
Right.
Wix. But they probably do have their it would be smart for them to have also a domain business because it's like very synergistic for their website business.
That's true. All right, let's switch to machine learning. So a lot of people use it. Talk about machine learning. but we don't usually understand what it is exactly. So what is really machine learning? What we're trying to do with machine learning?
So machine learning is like very self-explanatory. It's teaching a machine how to do something, like how to perform like a specific task. So let's say that you're trying to, let's say, like identify what color I'm wearing right now. And you just would want to teach a machine how to like look at what I'm wearing right now and identify that it's like green. So in order to do that, you would have to feed the machine a bunch of like different colors, different shirts, and like maybe me wearing different color shirts, maybe another person wearing a different color shirts, and then you would label that, and it would eventually learn like, oh, this is a red, this is a green. And so that's an example of machine learning. And there's a ton of different machine learning applications. There's like classification, detection, regression, prediction. Yeah, there's like a whole gamut of machine learning stuff that machine learning can do.
What type of what are some of the programming languages that is used in machine learning?
I would say the main one that I use at least is Python, mainly scikit-learn, and then also TensorFlow is pretty big in the machine learning space. Those are the big ones.
So I also hear a lot of people talking about computer vision. So how that is different from machine learning? Let's say a self-driving car, right? Self-driving car probably have some sensors, some cameras, so has some computer vision technologies. How is that is that part of machine learning, or how is that different?
That is exactly machine learning. So
Okay.
computer vision is like teaching a computer to detect
Right.
like it's looking at and sort of having like a object detection sort of scheme. It also falls under AI. So AI is just teaching a computer to do something like a human would do, just like see or speak. Like natural language processing is also another form of AI, and computer vision is also another form of AI. Mostly computer vision is used in, I know it's very big in like the like self-driving cars space. That's
Right.
how I see it being used like most frequently. It also for like your phone also uses computer vision when you know like you have a face ID, it like learns what your face looks like, and then it identifies like, oh, this is your face. I'm gonna open the phone for your face.
Yeah, that's good. And now let's talk about AI. You know, the big and hot topic right now. And ChatGPT just took the world with a storm, right? Like more than 100 million users in just a couple of days. That's insane. And what's your thought on that? What's going on with ChatGPT? And then of course Google Bard, they came up, you know, with their response.
Yeah, ChatGPT is pretty crazy, I would say. It's very good at like helping you get like a very like a something to springboard your ideas off of, and it's very good to like bounce ideas off of very quickly. So like when I'm writing anything, like even for grants, when I'm writing something, I like type in what I'm thinking to ChatGPT just to get like somewhere to start. But I would say its pitfalls come and when you want like a very niche or specific thing, because it's like very robotic when it responds to things, even though it's very like conversational and it'll understand the context throughout your entire conversation. You can tell when something's written by ChatGPT versus a person.
Right.
And ChatGPT can also tell when it's written by a ChatGPT or a person, because there's a lot of like ChatGPT detection software out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a big thing where like students in like college and high school were just using ChatGPT to write their essays. So colleges and high schools started like developing software to detect how much of this essay was written by ChatGPT.
Wow. So that's already out. Wow.
Yeah, that's already out.
That's
Yeah,
really quick.
AI is fighting AI. It's already happening.
So how can someone use ChatGPT effectively? Obviously, like you said, you can see if it's written by the bot, you know. And also sometimes it's not that accurate, right? Let's say you're gonna ask them something, sometimes it's accurate, sometimes it's not, because it's I think it's predicting the next word, word in the sentence. And so how can you do prompt engineering? Let's put it that way.
Okay. So I think the main thing to learn about ChatGPT is its main function is to carry on a conversation and not necessarily be right. It's like a human would,
Mhm.
we're carrying on conversations. We don't necessarily care about, like hopefully we do care about being right, but we don't necessarily know or like care to know if we are saying like the correct thing. So ChatGPT is the same way, where it's going to keep saying things and going down pathways that it doesn't necessarily know if it's right or not, but it's trying to continue the conversation. So if you notice that, you definitely want to start like a new chat and sort of realign it to get it sort of where it's speaking the truth again. But some helpful ways to use ChatGPT that I've seen are for coding. I use it a lot for like debugging or creating like a very simple algorithm that I'm kind of like stumped on, and then I use that as a springboard because sometimes ChatGPT code doesn't work, but yeah, it does have like a bunch of useful ideas that I can incorporate into my own code and useful ways to fix the debugging issue that I have. So it's very useful in that fact. I've also seen it used for like writing cover letters, which are super useful because cover letters are very like standardized. I've also seen it being used to like customize your resume for different types of job positionings,
Okay.
which is super useful as well. Because you don't want to go through like your resume and like, nitpick what you should add and what you should exclude. You can just have ChatGPT say, oh, add this if you're applying to like a biomedical company. Add this if you're applying to like a um, you know, finance company, hospitality company, or something like that.
So yeah, that's really good. Coding, you're right. I think it kind of little is very useful in coding, right? For the most part, is type of accurate if it's understand what you're trying to do, right? Sometimes you gotta ask the chat again, hey, make it this way, or try to add this library, or try to give it directions, and then you come back and say, oh, I'm sorry, this is I'm sorry for giving you that. This is okay, this is one. Let's try this again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of, you have to, it's like you're driving a car, you have to be, try to steer it in the correct direction. Sometimes you can say, make it if you're writing a text, make it more convincing, or make a summary, or summarize it in just 2 sentences, something like that, right? Because if not, it's just gonna keep writing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's where prompt engineering comes into play. Just making sure it's like actually doing what you want it to do and like writing clear and concise prompts that can exactly convey what you're trying to accomplish is the way to like get the most out of ChatGPT.
Then I don't know how is it compared to Google Bard, because sometimes I type the same thing on both, ChatGPT and Google Bard, and sometimes they give you similar answers, sometimes they don't. So I don't know how, which one is, I don't know if you do that. I don't know if you try to double check in both, or you just go ChatGPT.
I only use ChatGPT, but I might start double checking both just to see how good Google Bard is.
They do this similar thing with ChatGPT, very good in coding. But it seems like, I'm not sure, it seems like ChatGPT is kind of, because they just get started, it seems like they're a little bit ahead right now, but I don't know, because Google also is very powerful. They've been
Google
waking
has
up,
a lot of data.
they've been waking up recently, very strong.
Yeah.
So what other AI tool you see coming? Because ChatGPT, they work with Microsoft, Google is coming in. Obviously, I think there will be more competition, right? More AI chatbot, right?
There's also like open source chatbots that have been really good. Like there's one that came out of Stanford. I'm blanking on the name. I think it's Alpaca. There's one that came out of Stanford called Alpaca, I believe. That was also very good. They did tests comparing Alpaca to ChatGPT, and it was very comparable. And the good thing about Alpaca is that it's very private. Like if you're feeding it sensitive data, you're not sending that data to OpenAI, and it's also free. So you can do as much as you want from there. So I think those are going to be getting more and more popular as more people start adopting LLMs. But right now, ChatGPT, OpenAI, Google Bard are like all on the top of the world right now.
Right. And it's also like, sometimes I feel like is the first person to come out, if they succeed, it's very hard to switch people, right? It's like when the iPhone come in, everybody bought the iPhone, then Samsung came back. They're very good. They're Samsung Galaxy, like they're an iPhone, but when people get used to to the iPhone, they're like, oh, I'm not switching, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's sticky. OpenAI is very sticky.
Yeah. Once you start, you're like, oh, I'm just gonna keep using it. The other question I have is, are we using the tool or the tool is using us?
That is a great question. The
See what I
tool is
mean?
definitely using us, I would say.
You see what I mean there?
It is getting smarter and smarter with each, use.
Yeah. Like anytime I'm typing something, I'm like, no, I'm just gonna help him learn more what people are asking, right? Yeah, it's kind of scary. It's kind of
Yeah, there's a reason why, ChatGPT is free, I would say. That's all I gotta say.
yes,
Yeah.
that's true. Yes, if it's free, that means in somewhat we are the products. We are
Yeah.
somewhat like using social media. We are the product. It's probably using us because if we keep using this tool for 5, 10 years, how accurate that can be. It's gonna learn very quickly.
Yeah, it's gonna be very difficult to tell like a regular person from ChatGPT
Yeah.
once they learns, as much. Like GPT-6, GPT-7, it's gonna be very human-like, I would believe.
And also, I know in the English language is very powerful now, and I think they're trying to roll out for people around the world. I speak French. Last time I talked to ChatGPT in French, and then I just write something in French. He replied me in French. So I was like,
Oh,
okay, that's good. So they're trying to roll out other languages. I think it's gonna take time. But at that time, when I tried, it's been like 2 months ago. At that time, Google Board didn't have French, but now they think they do.
mhm.
But thing I was thinking about is how they're gonna incorporate all these other languages. Are they just gonna, let's say you write something in Japanese or in Swahili, which is an African language, and then is it gonna go look for the answer in English and then translate that back to you in Swahili? See what I mean?
Mm.
Because it seems like the English data set, you have more data set with written in the English language, like Wikipedia, like all these big organizations, right? In the West, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, Based off of my knowledge, I think it would be the easiest to like extract the answer in English, then
Right.
translate it to the language that you're speaking to it in.
Right.
Just because I believe it has a very large English
Yes.
language base. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially in the internet, it's scanning the whole internet. A lot of languages, they're not that. Let's say that you don't have many internet users online, right? But that brings to my question: how is it going to be a little bit biased because it's now is giving you in the perspective of a data set from the West, right? Or
Yeah.
is it
It
gonna
is. It
be
is. It will
try
be 100% biased.
right? Gonna be
Yeah.
it's gonna be arguing with you based on like someone from from wherever the data set is coming from. Unless we get some other AI tools and then we train them on you know other type of data.
Yeah, like training like a with all like French websites, for example, and just making it like a French chat GPT. Because even like how good ChatGPT will get, it will never understand like the nuances of speaking like native French to like a
Yes,
French speaker.
that's
Yeah,
correct.
it'll be like a very like robotic French
Right.
thing in its translation.
Right, because I heard somewhere that they were I listened to a podcast like they were training an AI tool, and then the AI was trying to identify if someone is a man or a woman. Just show you the picture, it's gonna say that's a man, that's a woman. And then they start showing that AI to black people and black women, black men and black women is not getting it correct. What he was doing at that time, he was very good with white people because he just looking for the makeup. If the woman has some makeup, right? If the lips are some type, you have something on the lips or the makeup, say okay, that's a woman. If there's no makeup, that's a man. Or maybe there's a beard, right?
Yeah,
Then if you go to someone with a darker skin, it's hard to see those features. And then so the solution was they took that AI to Africa and then they keep training it until it started getting better.
yeah, exactly. It's like the AI was probably trained on only white faces, so that's what it's very good at doing, white faces. But then you introduce other ethnicities, and then it just doesn't know what's going on.
How do you see AI safety? People like Elon Musk, they screaming, you have to, even some people sign a letter to say, hey, we need to pause this, right? Which is not going to happen, of course. How can we make, how can this thing be safe, not get out of hands?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like with like any sort of exciting, new technology, the innovation is always going to be far ahead of the actual safety. I think a good example of that is like the submarine, the submersible that happened a few weeks ago. Like
Yes.
the technology was very forward, but like the safety was sort of a back concern because everyone wants to be like the first, big sort of make a big splash, and then they can worry about like, oh, making it safe and making it user friendly later. But I think taking that time to like make safety a priority is a very big step into actually making AI for everyone and making it like mostly beneficial for like society as opposed to like very harmful.
So who should be, creating this safety thing? Is that the government? Is that an agency, maybe an agency like the FDA? How do we regulate, AI?
I'd say the best people to regulate AI are people that, you know, work with AI very frequently and sort of like the knowledge bit, like the experts in the field should definitely regulate AI because they know the ins and outs and how to sort of manipulate AI to do certain things, and they can sort of counteract that, sort of like an ethical hacking sort of thing,
Mm.
where these people are very well versed in how AI operates and well versed on how people can abuse it, and they can stop people from abusing it.
Yeah, people in the field definitely, but then the question gonna be how it's gonna help with competition, because they're like, we are the first, now we're gonna close the door behind, gonna close the door
Yeah,
for the startups, right? And also,
yeah,
the all these AI tools like ChatGPT, Google Bard, they require a lot of investment. Like, right, you need to have like huge data centers. It's not like something someone can do in their house, right? Because you don't
mhm.
have the computing power to scan all the internet, right? And try to to predict,
Yeah, yeah.
to use large language models, right? Maybe something like, a threshold to say, hey, if you have X amount of computer, if you have X amount of GPU, CPU, we know that this GPU and CPU can be used for AI.
Mhm.
Now, if we have that type of resources, then you need to find, apply for a license. We need to, have some identification. Who's the owner of this? Who's, where it's going to be located, right? And which country? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sort of like a registration on
Yes.
have this much computing power, and it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting idea.
Because whatever you want to do, you cannot go, I don't know, at least the hardware part is very important.
Yeah.
But all of these things gonna run somewhere in the data center, or like we call it the cloud, but it's running somewhere with huge computing power. And we can, I mean, if people are transparent, because you also have privacy. Some people say, hey, that's my personal business. Why do I need to? Something like that
Mhm.
maybe can we can look at maybe something for startups. Let's say, okay, we let them play until they have x amount of GPU, then say, hey, now you're becoming like big, like ChatGPT. Now maybe you need to apply for a license and then go through regulations, like we do for a new drugs, talking about healthcare, right?
Yeah,
If you just create a new drug, you're not going to start selling that to 100 million people right now.
that'd be very dangerous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like the FDA model, I think that's can be something to think about.
Yeah, that is a very interesting idea. Um, I would know a lot of people that would be against that because, they're
Yeah,
all about innovation, just want to get as much computing power as possible and,
right,
create stuff based off of that.
right.
But I do think that's it's a very interesting idea
Yeah,
to
and it
have
has to be something like in the international level, because if you put it just in the United States and then other countries like Europe or China, they don't have limitations, then you fall behind. So you have
yeah,
to be
exactly.
something everybody agrees.
There has to be some sort of like regulation going on, or someone's just gonna run away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna run away. And but if you look at the social media, Europe, they're very little bit advanced in regulations. They have the They have an agency for, the privacy, a privacy agency with the European Union. So they have more regulation than the United States. United States, they still cannot regulate social media. I mean, except section, they have a section in the laws like 230, section 230, yeah.
Yeah.
Except that, and which was written in the 1990s, has, it's like outdated. But seeing how that, they're having hard time to regulate social media, so I'm like optimistic but realist, like how it's going to be in the United States, because people just don't like regulations.
Yeah, people hate regulation in the United States. Only if it's a social media outside of the United States.
Yes,
I know there's a
yes,
huge push to like ban TikTok. I think
yes,
TikTok like banned in Montana or something.
yes,
But Facebook, Instagram,
yes.
Twitter, they do whatever they want.
Yes, if it's coming from somewhere overseas, then that's gonna be easier. Let's ban it. That's true. It's local. Yeah, that's something we need to think about, because imagine someone who can reach 100. What ChatGPT did, there's no other software I can remember that was adopted so quickly. Like 100 million people using it in just a couple of days, the first week or first 2 weeks. Even Facebook didn't, get adopted that quickly. And because it's a natural, you can just use natural language. You don't need to learn coding. It's like what Steve Jobs used to say: you just plug it and play. There's no documentation, nothing. You have a chatbot, ask it whatever you want. You don't need any training. It's so easy to use. So if someone around the world we don't have some guardrails who can just reach millions of people like this, that's that's kind of, we need some type of protection, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So the future of technology is very hard to predict, right? And who would predict that today in 2023 we would have ChatGPT?
Yeah, I don't think
Right.
anyone predicted that. Only
Exactly.
OpenAI. Yeah.
Yeah, we were there always waiting for the iPhone 14, iPhone, you know what, and then ChatGPT just came in, boom. So it's just, yeah, how do you see the future of technology now?
Future of technology. You're so right. It's so hard to predict like what's going to be big and what's going to like bomb. I would say something that's very interesting on the horizon would be self-driving cars once they finally figure that out. I don't think it'll be like very later in probably our lifetime, but I could see that being I could see that being a very huge thing, just because like parking is then sort of eliminated if cars can just like continuously drive people. And then if people don't have to drive, they can do other things on their commute. That's very interesting. And then of course, like large language models, will they ever replace a person? I
Mhm.
don't think so, but they'll be very good where we'll be able to like integrate with them and like be able to work much faster. Yeah, technology is very exciting.
Yeah, also, yeah, self-driving car, I think that's going to be similar to ChatGPT moment, right? Because people spend a lot of time going back and forth driving. If you can just, sit down and something driving you, then you can keep doing what you're doing. Maybe you have your laptop, keep working back on yeah, a lot of people are going to adopt that very quickly, as long as it's safe, right? And
Yeah, as long
then,
as that's the biggest thing.
yeah, and then we have people talking about quantum computing, right? People working on that, like Google. They have a great physicist called Michio Kaku. He talked about it a lot, and because he's one of the specialists in string theory, and he says the only way to solve a string theory, because you're a physicist, so probably you know that better than me. He said the only way to solve it is to have a quantum computer, because the equation is so complex to solve. Then a quantum computer, instead of computing with the 0 and 1, is compute in the, it have some state. I forget how you put it, but
I believe it's like spin of like
yeah,
molecules.
yes, in the
Um,
molecule level, correct. In the atomic, correct.
yeah, the atomic level.
The atomic level, yes. Instead of having 0 and 1 with transistors, it's going to be in the atomic level. And of course, an atom is way smaller than what we have today with the transistors. So how do you see that? How do you see that field?
Yeah, it's been a while since I looked into quantum computing. I'm not sure how fast it's advanced or not.
Right.
But I would imagine like the way if we have quantum computing like in the future, we would probably look at like our laptops, how we look at like the first, the Apple II or like
Yes.
the dial-up internet and
Yes.
stuff like that. Just like, oh, I can't believe that we were using this like old piece of trash
Yes.
when we had this amazing fast computer. So I think that's going to be like a revolutionary technology.
Yeah, and then there's also in the energy sector. Last year, they had the breakthrough in fusion, like creating energy at it's like the energy of the sun, because our sun, you have a fusion reaction there. And then a lot of people are working on that. And the United States Department of Energy, they announced, I think this year or last year, I don't remember exactly, but they announced that they have a breakthrough in fusion, which means you can just generate electricity with with fusion particles. I don't know that also how that's going to play out, because the more technology we have, the more we need electricity, right? Because everything
Yeah.
now is connected.
I think that like breakthrough all comes down to like how accessible it is to the average person. So like if that's like and like how cheap it is compared to what we're doing now. So if like we can power everything using Fusion, then further down the line we're going to power everything using Fusion if it's like cheap and effective and we don't have to like tear up our entire infrastructure in order to do that. Because a lot of what we have now is just based off of like electricity. So I wonder how that would like translate into using Fusion.
That's true. So these large language models, and you said you don't think it's going to replace human. Why do you think that? Are there any other jobs that going to be impacted by this?
I would say for the jobs that like require no interaction with people and are very like systematic, those have a high chance of being replaced. But it's like a large language model has to deal with like people that don't know how to interact with a large language model. That those kind of jobs are going to be hard to replace because like we can understand someone that doesn't know technology and translate it into technology, but will technology ever be in a place where it can understand someone that doesn't know anything about like how to operate it? I'm not sure if we'll ever get to that point. And also there's like jobs that require like creativity, and machines are very bad at creativity. They're very good at like regurgitating stuff that they've already seen in like a different format. But being creative is a very human experience, and I don't think machines will ever, recreate what we can do.
Yeah, that's really optimistic, because it's kind of a lot of people are scared right now. But let's say writing books. Is that because these tools, they're very good in writing. They're very convincing, whatever is true or not. I think they write better than a human.
Yeah, I think
I
like
think
technically,
ChatGPT write better than a human, like the way it's formulated this, the sentences.
yeah, I think like for technical writing, definitely better than a human. But for like creative writing, I would bet you differ that like a ChatGPT story wouldn't be as interesting as a human story.
So how about coding? Like all the software engineers, if these tools can just write code, are these jobs gonna be more reduced? Like instead of having hundreds of software engineers in a company, they're just gonna have 50, maybe 20, because all of them now are gonna be using ChatGPT. That means they're gonna be more productive, gonna be able to write code quicker, and
That's a good
and then
question.
and then data analysis, right? If you give it data, say, hey, make me the data analysis. This is an Excel file of 100 rows and 10 columns. Is it going to be able to do that better than a human, or quicker?
I think what might happen is that people will get faster using these tools, but I don't think we'll ever be completely replaced. Just because like for presenting data, for example, is like you have to present to your audience and it's not very formulaic. You have to, understand what level a person is at in order to convey like what you're trying to get through the data. And then a machine is like not going to be able to interpret that
Right.
as well as a human will,
Right.
and be able to like make inferences and apply that to like a business case if you're doing like a business sort of data analysis project. I don't think we'll ever be fully replaced.
Right. It's also gonna have a hard time with collecting the data. I mean, the correct data. Like,
Yeah,
it can go just scan everything in the internet. Who knows if those sources are credible sources, right? So
exactly.
collecting the data and then cleaning the data. So what if you have missing values, and then it's just gonna make analysis based on that dirty
Yeah.
data?
Yeah, it might like make up the data, like the make up the missing parts.
Yes.
Who knows it, is it cleaning it in the right way? Is it
Yes.
cleaning it to like present the most useful thing to like the stakeholder? Yeah, these are all questions that
So it's gonna
that
be, so Microsoft, they call it Copilot. It's like, it's gonna be like you are the pilot on a plane, you have a co-pilot. So that's how they seeing it for the future. So it's gonna be like your personal assistant,
Mm,
right? Like
mm,
anytime you need something, say, hey, ChatGPT, hey, what is XYZ? Imagine now you have it on your phone, then you have it on your watch. So it just, keep it becoming more useful for you.
yeah, I think like ChatGPT will be like an Excel sort
Mhm,
of tool where like we use it every day to
mhm,
like optimize what we're doing, but
mhm.
it's not going to outright replace us.
Yeah, I like that. I hope that's 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 true, because the tool is using us, learning, getting smarter every year. I think this year or next year they're gonna come up with GPT-5, right? Because now it's
Yeah,
GPT-4.
yeah, I think GPT4 is already out, and they're going to come up with
Yeah,
GPT5. Let's
yeah,
hope it's a good thing.
yeah. It's
We
a
got to
good
keep our
thing.
jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Let's be hopeful. So if you're not doing what you do, what other personal hobbies you have? What do you do to recharge? You're obviously very busy. You started a company, like you said, a biotech company that you sold. You have your own website, MylesAI, you're a data analyst. So you have a very busy schedule, top freelancers on Upwork, which keeps you really busy. And
Mhm.
so how do you balance it out with personal hobbies and personal life?
I like to play a lot of sports. I play basketball on the weekends with my friends from college.
Oh,
I
wow.
I've gotten back into golf. I was a big golfer when I was like in middle school, high school, so I've started, golfing a lot more. It's very relaxing when I hit well, not so relaxing when I don't. Uh, I also play ultimate frisbee on the
Oh,
weekends
wow.
too, which is
Wow.
very relaxing too. I played that a lot in college.
Wow. That's really good. I like going at the gym. I do a little bit boxing also, but how important is that, going out, like working out, doing sports? And then the food part, how important is that for personal development?
I would say that's just as important as like learning how to code and
Right.
creating websites and creating companies and stuff like that. Like being able to step away and have a break makes like working much easier. And also, it's also important to like have fun and have things to look forward to do.
Yeah, that's true. Some people say health is wealth, right? Your
Yeah.
healthy lifestyle. I always like people who going out there, working out, keeping themselves active, eating healthy foods, because then that give you the energy to do whatever else you want to do in business or studying.
Mm.
Yeah, but as someone who's very successful on Upwork, how can someone be successful on Upwork, and how someone can people can get jobs there, and what advice do you give people to make some extra income doing freelancing?
Yeah. So I would say when you're starting out on Upwork, the number one thing you want to do is like make sure your profile very presents like what you're good at, and then also is very clear to understand.
Yeah, your
So that's
profile is your profile is awesome. I read all the profile. It's really well well written.
thank you. It took me a long time to like hammer down my profile.
Yes,
There's a
I
lot
can
of
see.
times where just like people are looking over my profile and like, okay, I need to sit down and figure out how to make a very attractive profile. And that's going to get you a lot of clients if you have an attractive profile. The other thing is also the reviews,
Mhm.
and that's how people are going to tell like you're a good freelancer versus someone that's just like not as good. So I would recommend like taking jobs that aren't as like that don't pay as well, but you can complete to like a high level, and then get those 5-star reviews, get those word of mouth sort of that word of mouth good praise, and then you can start getting bigger clients based off of that and start building from there.
Yeah, the reviews is very important, because someone who just getting started, they just go there, they have their profile. The profile is not well written. They don't have other jobs, like I said, they don't have good reviews. So people are just gonna go to people like you, you know. So it's very hard to get started, right?
Yeah,
Just
it's very intimidating getting started. But
then
like once you get those reviews and people like, oh, this person's like does great work, this person's on time, this person's very organized and put together, then people will start getting attracted to um your profile.
and for you right now, someone is top rated out there. You're not looking for jobs. People just offer you jobs for the most part, right? Like you're so busy, you cannot do everything.
It's some days I look for jobs, some days like jobs come to me.
Right.
And that's the beauty of being like, top rated. You don't
Mhm.
have to you have, organic leads that come to you. Like lead generation is very nice, but sometimes I also look for other stuff just because I'm interested in what's out there.
Yeah, someone also told me like if you're just getting started, try to find, like you said, lower your price so people can give you jobs and reviews, or you can have some friends that they can go there and order you some jobs, but something they need, right? They need graphic design, they need something, say, hey, I can do this for you on Upwork, but just to get you started, have that history of completed jobs.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be like something that you're like you're focusing on. Like my first job ever was just like reviewing something on Amazon. Like
Right.
someone said, "Oh, I can give you some cash, review this thing on Amazon, and then report it back to me."
Mhm.
And so that's how I got my first 5-star, review just from doing something random like that.
Wow. So what's keep you hopeful? What advice do you have for people struggling out there? We have the beginning of the year, we had a lot of layoff. We have the Fed increasing rates. Some, people are having hard time. So what hopeful message do you have for people? What advice do you have for someone out there?
Advice for someone that's struggling. I would say don't give up because the only time that you lose is when you give up.
Mhm.
So you just keep, going forward and know that there's going to be like there's valleys and hills. We're definitely in a valley right now. So you just got to persevere until you're in that hill. And a lot of people do give up while they're in the valley, but the successful people, persevere until you reach that hill. So my eyes is just keep your eyes on the hill.
Don't give up. That's so good.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Keep trying. And Myles, thank you so much for being here. This is awesome. I hope we can do this again. Someone like you is very successful. I really appreciate you coming, sitting down, sharing what you know with my audience. And you are a Columbia and Harvard grad. You founded a biotech company, and you help people write grants. You're a data analyst, and you're also a specialist in AI, ChatGPT, which is gonna keep you really busy. You gotta be really
Yeah.
busy. AI
Yeah, it's a
specialist.
busy life.
Yes, this is very hot right now. You're top-rated freelancers today with 100% job success. Yeah, I just like talking to people like you. I like exposing, helping to expose and promote young professionals and even older professionals, but people who have skills, people who have subject matter experts, help share knowledge around the world. Education is very important. This channel is mostly about education. And hopefully, as human beings, we can learn to grow, come together as one people and one planet, which is our home planet Earth. So that's my hopeful message here. So thank you so much, and let's hope to see you next time.
Yes, thank you, MD. Thank you so much for having me on.
Right. Bye-bye.